and he felt her in his mind, searching for comfort. Fane gave her what he could.
"I love you. We're going to be okay."
She didn't say anything, but she nodded against his shoulder. Next, his eyes shifted to Adam and his mate, Krina. She, too, had red, swollen eyes fixed firmly on the floor, as if she didn't want to look around the space that had once belonged to their alpha. Adam rubbed his hand up and down her back, occasionally whispering to her. Next to them stood Soren and Elle. The face of Fane's childhood guard was still as stone and as blank as a white wall. Fane could sense through the pack bonds, now firmly attached, that Soren hurt deeply. Elle held tightly to his hand, and her unseeing stare made her appear just as stoic. Wadim had taken a seat on the couch as if his legs wouldn't hold him up any longer, and he'd pulled Zara into his lap. He rested his head on her shoulder as she ran her fingers through his hair. The incredibly intimate gesture comforted Fane. To know that their pack historian had a mate to help get him through this time brought a small amount of peace to the new alpha. He realized at that moment what his father had felt for their pack. Every single member and their well-being was paramount to him. He wanted to know that they were all healthy and happy and taken care of. Fane understood that before he became alpha, but now it was magnified times 1,000. He couldn't process the emotions of the revelation, so, instead, he focused on the others in the room. Thalion and Sin joined them, even though the rest of their respective races had returned to their kingdom. They'd often been involved in these meetings over the years because of Sin's relationship with Perry. Everyone knew she was a loyal warrior and would fight by Perry's side till death. Perry and Lucian were closest to the door, and beside them stood Nissa, Desir, Gwen, and Dane, the other High Fae council members. Fane hadn't noticed that they'd flashed to the mansion until Perry had spoken to them as they entered the front door. Perry stood straight, her shoulders pulled back and her chin raised as her gaze roamed the room. Fane wondered if she was thinking about the many times she'd met his father and his pack in this office. Was she remembering the heated words, the tears that had been shed, and the laughter that once filled the space? Her eyes snapped to his, and he appreciated that he saw no pity there. All he saw was a loss that matched his own. She tilted her head slightly, and he reciprocated the gesture. Lucian bowed his head as if in prayer. Fane wondered what his uncle felt. He'd been in a situation before when he thought he'd never see his brother again, when Lucian had been locked in the dark forest. He had experienced the loss already, and now he was reliving it, only this time it was truly final. The door to the office opened, and Rachel and Gavril stepped in. The final members of the inner circle of the group who protected the Romania pack, and the rest of the world when it needed protection. "Drake is doing well. He and Bethany are both sorry they could not attend," Rachel said as she and her mate stepped farther into the room. "They mentioned that the Great Luna visited them last night, but they didn't elaborate. They said they wanted to speak with you and Jackie after you'd had time to rest."
"Thank you, Rachel," Fane said, and he could hear the gruff emotion in his voice. "I appreciate you taking time to check on them. I'm sure you and your mate are exhausted."
Rachel smiled warmly. "It's what Pack does." Fane's lips lifted slightly.
"Yes, it is."
Fane glanced over to see Jen had moved to the other end of the couch, where Wadim and Zara sat. She'd handed Thea's sleeping form to Decibel, and then sat with her elbows on her knees and her face resting in her hands. Her shoulders shook, and Fane heard Jen sniffle. Jackie quickly handed Slate to Fane and hurried over to her best friend's side. Sally still held Titus, but she looked at Jen, and deep love shone in her eyes. Jen was their solid rock. She was the one who held a vampire head up in front of a room full of supernaturals and declared she would have the head of every evil being that stood against them. Yet here she was in front of their group, unable to hold it together. Jackie wrapped her arms around her best friend and pulled her in close. Jen went willingly and, to Fane's shock, the usually thick-skinned female fell apart. "I know this is ridiculous," Jen sobbed, "but it bloody hurts, and I will not stand here and pretend that I didn't just leave my heart out on a damn 2-century-old battlefield while I watch the people I love leave us forever." "Nobody expects you to pretend anything, Jen," Jackie said gently. "If you need to cry, then damn it, you cry. If you need to scream and curse..."